Hi everyone, JJ here. Welcome. We're live to the Tesla earnings update, and we can see that the stock, if we can look at this right now, the stock is up 8.76% as I speak right now after the earnings have come up. The earnings call is coming up, and I'll go through that. I'm going to be in the chat and let them talk, and then I'll have a talk afterwards. I'll sort of break down what happened here. But first of all, leading up to that, I'll go through the earnings and see what the market likes about this. It is a big jump. There wasn't high expectations for this at all. So maybe that's got something to do with it. Let's see. This is the earnings update. Is that right? And can everybody hear me? I'm going to say hi in the chat there. Hey, and I can see your chats there, so let me know, and hopefully we'll gather some people. There's a lot of eyes on this earnings for obvious reasons. The last earnings weren't so good. Hi there. Let's go. Let's see. Let's get into the earnings because there's not a lot of time. We've got half an hour before the start. If Elon's not late, he was late to the We Robot event, and he can be late to earnings calls too. So we'll just see what happens, but we'll go through this earnings and see what the market might be liking about this compared to last time. The last earnings was a bit of a disaster, really. So let's just see. We'll go through just in the time we've got. I can't get too deeply into it. I could have started earlier, but I really want to focus on the earnings call, and we'll see if the stock price holds up during the earnings, that Elon doesn't say something stupid and the market doesn't like, perhaps. Well, let's see what the market might be liking with this. Nearly up 10%, which it's been a while before there's been a 10% jump, I think, in earnings. We delivered strong results in Q3 with growth in vehicle deliveries both sequentially and year-on-year, resulting in record high third quarter volumes. We also recognized our second highest quarter of regulatory credit revenues. That's something that could go away. I said I was going to say that this is a no BS, no cheerleading. This is, there's going to be some criticism here. So the regulatory credits, to say it's the highest regulatory credits, as other OEMs are still behind on meeting emissions requirements. Okay, so regulatory credits is one thing that could go away for Tesla, and it's pretty huge. So let's see. I see some people. Let's see this. I wrote a few days ago, expected the sales to be good due to zero financing. Yeah, that's a good point there. And I think they'll be saying something about that. Cost of goods sold per vehicle came down to its lowest level ever at around 35,100 in order to continue accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. Well, that's interesting that they're still saying that, given that Elon, not to get too political, but sucking up to Trump, and Trump's, what would Trump say about the transition to sustainable energy and vehicles? Doesn't like it. So, there's lots of conjecture about why he's sucking up to Trump for this one. Apart from free speech, I think that's a bit of a ruse. I think there's a lot of investigations and probes going on that Trump might be able to help with. Trump is very pro fossil fuels, but I don't want to get too into that. We need at this time, let's get through this. We need to make EVs affordable for everyone, including making total cost of ownership per mile competitive with all forms of transportation. So they're talking about FSD and RoboCab there, of course. And I see some people joining. Hello there. We're just going to go through this update before the earnings call starts. I'm really keen to hear what Elon rambles on about in this earnings call. Or what he might say, but he'll be seeing that the stock price is up. Should they be keeping him away from the earnings call? No, I think he's got to show up. Preparations remain underway for our offering of new vehicles. Okay, so I think this is what the market's liking, quite frankly. I think this is a statement here that the market will be liking, because that was once one of the biggest questions here. And if we've got time, we'll go through some of the questions. The retail investor questions, that's one of the top questions if you've had a look at that yet. That, what's happening with, are we going to get a more affordable vehicle, the so-called $25,000 vehicle? Elon said that the Cybercab will be $30,000. But he also said that their Cybertruck would be $40,000 and it ended up to be $100,000. So he can't be believed in terms of his puffery there. Preparations remain underway for our offering of new vehicles, including more affordable vehicles, which will begin launching in the first half of 2025. Okay, are we to believe that? In the first half of 2025? Launching in the first half of 2025. Okay, so considering they haven't said anything about it, is that suddenly going to ramp, or is that timeline going to be put out? I totally forgot about the credits. They always use them to prop up earnings, indeed, and they have been doing it for a long time. They have, and it's just, people just forget about it, but it's massive. In our We Robot launch on October 10th, which I covered live and two follow-up videos, we detailed our long-term goal of offering autonomous transport. Long-term goal, they say there, with a cost per mile below rideshare, personal car ownership, and even public transport. Well, that remains to be seen. Elon's talked about the economics. As I said in those videos, in 2019, remember the whole million robotaxis on the road by 2020. And so, you have to take a grain of salt what they say about the economics here. And Elon has said that Tesla's not worth anything unless autonomy is solved. And that's where we stand at the moment. So they can say whatever they like. But I think the market likes this so far about the affordable vehicles. That's what people are waiting for. Talking about, he just decided to bring out the Cybertruck. And we'll have a look for Cybertruck. I think this is what they say in the summary here. Cybertruck became the third best-selling EV in Q3 in the US, behind the Model Y and Model 3. Well, it's probably not a big. It's way behind, isn't it? And they don't break down Model 3 and Model Y in terms of numbers either, which is a bit. I don't want to say shady, but why don't they break it out? They say the Model Y is the best-selling car in the world, but yet they don't break out the numbers. Wonder how the stock will perform after the call. Yes, well, we're going to cover the call. I'm not going to ramble. I'm not going to interrupt during the call. We'll let Elon say and let them say, and then I'll talk about it afterwards. I'll be in the chat. I'll talk about it in the chat, but I'm not going to interrupt. People hate that, and I have talked too much in previous calls with Alibaba and others. But despite sustained macroeconomic headwinds and others pulling back on EV investments. Okay, I missed a bit here. Sorry, I'll go back to this. The energy business achieved another strong quarter. I think the market likes that, with a record gross margin. So the market will be liking that. Additionally, the mega factory in Lathrop, is that how you say it, produced 200 megapacks in a week, and Powerwall deployments reached a record for the second quarter in a row as we continue to ramp Powerwall. So this is a bright spot, the energy, but we'll have a look at the revenues for that. I think it was down from the last quarter, just glancing at it, but we'll just check. We'll be able to check that out if we've got time. Still got 20 minutes or so, and I'll probably be a bit late. Despite sustained macroeconomic headwinds and others pulling back from EV investments, we remain focused on expanding our vehicle and energy product lineup, reducing costs, and making critical investments in AI projects and production capacity. So the market will be liking all that talk. Reducing costs. I mean, Elon said in one of the last calls that you can only squeeze so much out, and they've been doing this for a long time, but I think they have improved that, and the market will be liking that too. The stock went up nearly 10%, but from a high, it's a high base in terms of, I think the P's 69, is that what it was? Something like that. So, it's not exactly a cheap stock, but when something's riding so high, PE 61.53. All right, is what it was. That would be before earnings. The energy, what have we got here? We believe that these efforts will allow us to capitalize on the ongoing transition to the transportation of energy, to the transportation and energy sectors, blah, blah, blah. Okay, So we're going to have a look at these numbers because that's all important, and we'll see what the market might have liked about that. I'll just check what if the share price has changed at all. Still up 8.92, so it'll be interesting to see if that changes during the call. All right, let's have a look at this. What's just time check, 10:10, so we've still got half an hour there. 20 minutes. So automotive revenues, total automotive revenues up 2% year on year. So that's really nothing to write home about. Remember the time of, very bullish promoters saying 50% a year, the growth of 50% a year. But the stock price really didn't come down much in terms of the multiples. It was over 400. I guess it has come down, but still there's a lot of expectation. And where are the revenues coming from? Total automotive revenues, 20,000. What last time was 19.8. So yep. So it has been trending up, although Q4 2023 was 21,500. So it jumps up and down there a bit. Let's just check the comments here. Hoping for no disturbance. Yeah, this is another thing. And look, I'm assuming that we can rely on these numbers here and that they're not actually kind of fiddling the books here, which if has some people are comparing it to Enron. I've made a couple of videos about that. This is relying on that the numbers actually are correct and we're actually seeing what's here. People say things about Chinese companies, even big ones, especially US investors, but there have been massive frauds in the US, and Enron is an interesting example if you go back in history and see what they were doing there. So this is assuming that the numbers are correct and they're not doing anything to hide that. We'll find out in time, but that's being super critical, and let's hope that isn't the case, because that would be a disaster for not just Tesla at this point. It's such a big company, but it could affect the whole market and perhaps even the economy. It would certainly affect a lot of jobs if that's something like that happened. Self-driving will fail due to AI making epic mistakes like blowing through stoplight signs, driving on the wrong side of the road. It's a dead end until we get a leap in AI reasoning. I've seen a lot of those videos. One of the biggest problems that I see, just deviating from the numbers here, we've probably got time. Now I've seen videos. There's one woman, is she Miss Julianne, who does live FSD rides in LA. One of the few that actually does live rides, and she's skeptical. She's not a promoter, and one of the constant problems is sun and the cameras, and I don't think that can be solved with AI. How do you do that? Because even if maybe AI can see and extrapolate what's happening there, but if there's something while the sun's blinding the camera and a car just comes out from the side, or a pedestrian comes out, a dog, whatever, while the sun's in there, AI can't see that. It can't see that. It can't. So I just don't know how they're actually going to solve that problem, even with AI. If it goes up to 260, I'm out. This is my last long share. I have heard too many shaky things about the company, shaky or shady. Self-driving is a dead end due to AI can't reason. It makes dumb mistakes like going through red light stop signs. Yeah, I've seen all that. And, as I said, the sun problem, and there's that investigation now of conditions, these variable conditions that it obviously can't handle, and there have been accidents and one is sun strike, sun glare is one of them, fog and dust is the three things that were mentioned in that probe and that investigation. That's going to be interesting to see. How do they solve that with cameras and AI? I don't see how they're doing that. How AI can handle that, unless there's like a satellite following the car. I don't know, that can actually see what's going on. Maybe Elon can come up with that with Skylink, or I don't know. Who knows? But they can. Okay, let's go back to the numbers here and see what the market might be liking about this quickly. We've got to get on with this. I've rambled already. Total revenues up 8%. We can see that 25, so just fractionally up. There have been, back in Q4 2023, that was also similar. So, again, it's good. The market will be liking that, but does it justify the market cap? Total gross profit up 20%, so the market will be liking that. Total gap gross margin is 19.8, so that's up. And it's been rising, so the market likes that. I mean, I like to see that. I have owned Tesla for 6 months between late 2022. For 6 months, I got 100% out of it, and I did not like the margins slipping. That was one of the things. And I mean, I was out there. Operating expenses minus 6%, so that's good. The market will be liking that. As I said, we're believing these numbers. Income from operations 2,700, so that's up 54%. The market will be liking that. Operating margin 10.8. So this is seemingly a massive improvement from the past few quarters. The market will be liking that. These are the reasons that the stock has jumped for sure. We're gonna skip those. Charlie Munger hates those numbers, and so do I. I mean, adjusted for what is what you really want to get into there. We're not going to do that here. Okay, let's skip down here. Net. This is the important numbers here. Net cash provided by operating activities 6,200. So that's 89%. The market will be liking that. So these are the reasons that I can see that the market, that the Wall Street and after hours pretty much is Wall Street, let's face it. Capital expenditures, that's up. Now, remember, something comes to mind, Bitcoin, that they sold that won't be in these figures, and there's no mention of Bitcoin. I did a search for the word Bitcoin. There's no mention of it whatsoever in this. Let's see, check the comments here. The sad part is Elon can fix these problems. He just doesn't seem to care anymore. He's very into politics, isn't he? I again conjecture about why he's getting so into politics. Is Trump going to save him? Does he think there's some reason that Trump could help him? They think more data will make it reliable, but it won't. Why they didn't add LiDAR in Robotaxi? LiDAR is not even in drones and vacuum cleaners. Costs have gone down significantly. Yeah, LiDAR costs have gone down. And, does it need radar or LiDAR? That's another debate. I mean, as I said, the sun problem. I mean, I was driving in where I live the other day, and we get it's a type of place where we get sun, rain all the time. I mean, there's literally a rainforest out here. And so we get that condition. And I was driving, and the sun was low, and that sun condition was so much. I could hardly see myself, but you have that sun visor. And so I just don't think cameras can deal with this, quite frankly. Elon said it's got a 360 view, but really that doesn't matter when you've got something coming head on and something happens and the camera can't see it. That's what I think anyway. Just time check, 10:18. Well, 10:18 for me, so we're still 12 minutes away. They haven't started yet. 11:23, that says they'll be starting. It depends if Elon's late or not. All right, so the financial summary, here's what they think and will probably be a reason for the market going up. Total revenues increased 8% year on year in Q3 to 25.52 billion. We saw that revenue was impacted by the following: growth in vehicle deliveries, not very much, let's face that. Growth and the financing of that is 0% in some places. Growth in energy generation and storage and services, yes. And higher FSD revenue recognition. See, there's been a question about that, about the revenue recognition in FSD. That's a question mark in terms of being possibly fraudulent. Year on year for release related to Cybertruck and certain features such as actually smart summon, higher regulatory credit revenue. I mean, there shouldn't be a reason that the stock price goes up, in my opinion, the regulatory revenue. Reduced vehicle average selling price. Yep, well, okay. So you'd want to, if you have a vehicle price going down, you want to sell more. That's the idea. So margins coming down, but margins are good. I mean, again, we're believing this. Profitability, our operating income increased year on year in Q3, resulting in 10.8% operating margin. So the market definitely liked that. Year on year operating income was primarily impacted by the following. Okay, lower cost per vehicle, including lower material costs, freight and duties, growing energy generation and storage, higher FSD revenue recognition, again, question mark, growth in vehicle deliveries, not much, higher regulatory credit revenue. So this is the thing, the higher regulatory credit revenue, Elon's so, he was definitely annoyed by the Biden administration not inviting him to the White House and all that. I've seen in various podcasts saying that that really stuck with him, and then he turned more to the Republicans after that. It really stuck with him, but they still get significant government money and not just in Tesla businesses. Decrease in operating expenses, including cost reduction efforts and reduced vehicle ASP. Okay, cash. Quarter end cash equivalents. Now, there's been a question mark over these cash and cash equivalents as well, and the sale of Bitcoin as well. We'll only find out later what that was about next quarter, or where that went, or we don't know where that went. Is he spending that on politics? Where did that money go? Where did that Bitcoin revenue that they sold? Where did that go? Okay, just checking the comments there. Okay, operational summary. Here we go. This is interesting because we see how they don't break down the 3 and the Y. They should break down each of those models. Why don't they do that? I mean, it can't be about competition. They say that the Model Y is the biggest selling vehicle in the world. Why don't they break that down by model? Anyway, 443,000, so 6%. So it's not a huge jump. It's sort of like 6% is not what you consider a high growth company, yet the stock price, the market cap is kind of for a growth company. So it's still got low growth. Other model in terms of production, that is, other models production, 91% up. Is that yes? Yep, that includes the Cybertruck now. And total production, 469, up 9%. So not quite 10%. So a single digit growth in deliveries there. Model 3 and Y deliveries, 5%. Oh, so that was production. This is deliveries, 5%. So it's a little bit less than the production. Other model deliveries, 43% up. So that's your Cybertruck. Total deliveries up 6%. Now, we want to see the storage energy deployment. Operating lease vehicle count, -4 global vehicle inventory. See, that's a number that they can fudge if they want to, I think. Storage deployed 75% up, so 6.9. So down from the last quarter, which is interesting. The last quarter was a big one, it just happened to be, but if you average it out, it's 3.2, 4.1 up to 6.9. So definitely growing. It is a bright spot. I've always been kind of excited about Tesla's energy storage, and Elon did say that it could be bigger than auto, and it is ramping up. And there's lots of robotics talk, but really energy is a bright spot for sure, I think. And so let's move on. We want to move on. We don't have much time left now, about 5 minutes. See, his Cybertruck production increased sequentially and achieved a positive gross margin for the first time. And so I saw a tweet about that, an X post that Elon was saying, or somebody commented on that. So he's really crowing about that. I bet you will say something about that in the earnings call, that there's a positive gross margin for Cybertruck already. But being $100,000 or less than that now, it's not going to be it's not a huge seller in terms of if you compare it to other actual trucks, not just EV trucks. When they're talking about it, they're saying the highest selling EV truck, but there isn't a lot of competition yet, really, and so it's really against all trucks. They want to get people buying EVs trucks instead of your ICE vehicles like the Ford F-150, which is a huge seller. Oh, I can hear the music coming on now. Okay, I'm going to turn that down because last time it had a copyright problem. So we're nearly there, and we'll come back to that. 5 minutes to go. Okay, I'll wrap this up quickly. Let's have a quick look. So they've got some of these graphs are BS graphs. FSD miles, I think this is a BS graph. It doesn't mean anything unless they actually solve autonomy. If they get FSD working, these graphs are pretty pointless. They really don't matter unless it's actually helping to solve FSD, and that's a question mark. Other highlights: energy generation and storage. Yes, it's going well. Storage deployments we see there last quarter was a big one, so it's come down but still good. And outlook. So this is probably important that the market took notice of too. Our company is currently between two major growth waves. Yes, they've been saying, Elon's been saying that for a while. The first one began global expansion of the 3 and the Y. We believe the next one will be initiated by advances in autonomy and introduction of new products, including those built on our next generation of vehicle platform. Despite ongoing macroeconomic conditions, we expect to achieve slight growth in vehicle deliveries in 2024. We saw the slight has happened already. Well, we're getting towards the end of the year. Energy storage deployments are expected to more than double year on year in 2024. So that is definitely a bright spot there. Although not glamorous, but people don't focus on that because it's kind of sort of boring. But really, if the more that they can do that, the better. And we're 3 minutes away now. Profit. We will continue to execute on innovations, blah, blah, blah. Software fleet-based profit. So that's what they want to be accompanied. Hardware-related profits to be accompanied by acceleration of AI, software, and fleet-based profits. So software profits are what they want, and that's FSD because the margins are so much more. If you look at SaaS profit margins are so high, sometimes in the 70s and 80%. So that's really what they want. And if you think about it, Apple has got hardware and software together. So they're looking for companies like that. Products, including affordable new plans for new vehicles and affordable models. Okay, that's one of the main questions that'll be from the call. So we'll have to see if that actually is the case. I'm going to swap to this right now. Actually, see this, Tesla Q. Can you see that? Yes, screen sharing. Tesla Q3 2024 earnings. So during the call, I said I'll be in the chat rather than talking. I don't want to interrupt the call. We'll go through that. We'll talk about it afterwards if there's anything to talk about. And so I'll be in the chat in a minute once the call starts, and we'll just listen. Is Tesla still on track to deliver the more affordable model next year? So it's a number one question. 5,100 votes, as mentioned by Elon. So they would have seen this. Is Elon going to mention this up front? Can we expect Tesla to give us the 25K? Number one and number two question is about this. So this will be interesting to see this. If this happens, what is Tesla doing to alleviate long waiting times on service centers? Okay, that's number three, which shows that is a problem. Okay, we're about to start. 1 minute. I'll just go through photos of this chart here. Global EV market share, China. Let's see what photos I've got. Yeah, the Cybercab. There's the Robovin. There's the charger, wireless charger, which is not efficient. It's not an efficient way of charging, but in the Snake charger in one of my videos, I asked where that Snake charger was. That was fully 10 years ago when they brought that out. So some of these things, there's the programmed dancing of the robots, not autonomous. There's the hand. That was impressive. I didn't put that in my video actually, but the new hand, the next generation hand that they showed by itself is pretty impressive, I have to say. The degrees of movement. and that's the factory delivering that many vehicles. Next generation Powerwall 3. Okay, we're at 10:30 now, so let's. Okay, we haven't started yet. Let's make sure we haven't started. Just checking that. All right. So here we go. It's a semi-factory. Okay. So last quarter, I was pretty critical of this because they were saying, oh, the semi-factory started, but it was basically just a slab with nothing built on it. And now they have made progress. So this has happened in a quarter, which is good. It's actually working. It's been a long time coming. One of those timelines of the semi not happening for a very long time. And where's the Roadster? There's no talk about that. That's one of the questions in the Q&A too that people want to know about. And so at least this is going on here. It's actually starting to work. They do build factories, even though they've put the Mexico one on hold because they really don't need it, because those vehicle production deliveries demand has definitely gone down. Some of the key metrics here, operating in blah blah. We won't go through that. The financial statements, we don't have time to get into that, but one thing that I pointed out that I looked at, there's the regulatory credits there. So if you look at that line, 554, 443, 422, 890, and 739. So it's down from last quarter, but still really quite significant that people just forget about. And that, he's critical of Biden and the Biden administration, but will Trump do anything? Trump is going to keep those for the industry, even though he doesn't like EVs, because now he's buddy with Elon. If he does win the presidency, I'd say that won't change, because he's bought Trump, isn't he, with over around $100 million of funding for the campaign. That's one of the biggest donors. So it's incredible what Elon's been doing. I haven't talked about this in my videos, but I might make videos about it as the election comes up, which is 90 days away now. Actually, let's just see this if they started. No. He's late, of course. All right, so as I said, I'm going to be in the chat. That's basically what else? Let's just check the price, the stock price. As we start going to the call, 9.36. It's flattened out a bit. Is this going to go down during the call? We'll check that. And okay, they've started, so let's go.
Our Q3 results were announced at about 3 p.m. Central Time in the update deck we published at the same link.
Let me know if you can't hear that. You should be able to hear that now.
During this call, we will discuss our business outlook and make forward-looking statements.
Does it all go? Can you hear that?
On our predictions and expectations as of today. Actual events or results could differ materially due to a number of risks and uncertainties, including those mentioned in our most recent filings with the SEC. During the question and answer portion of today's call, please limit yourself to one question and one follow-up. Please use the raise hand button to join the question queue. Before we jump into Q&A, Elon has some opening remarks. Elon?
Thank you. So to recap, as someone saying, something that automotive industry is seeing year-over-year declines in order volumes in Q3, Tesla at the same time has achieved record deliveries. In fact, I think if you look at EV companies worldwide, to the best of my knowledge, no EV company is even profitable. And I'm not, to the best of my knowledge, there's no EV division of any company, of any existing auto company that is profitable. So it is notable that Tesla is profitable despite a very challenging automotive environment. And this quarter actually is a record Q3 for us. So we produced our 7th million vehicle actually just yesterday. So congratulations to the teams that made it happen at Tesla. That's a staggeringly immense amount of work to make 7 million cars. Let's see, and we also have the energy storage business is growing like wildfire with strong demand for both Megapack and Powerwall. And as people know, on October 10th, we laid out a vision for an autonomous and electric future that I think is very compelling. The Tesla team did a phenomenal job there with, actually giving people an opportunity to experience the future, where you have humanoid robots walking among the crowd, not with a canned video presentation or anything, but literally walking among the crowd, serving drinks and whatnot. And we had 50 autonomous vehicles. There were 20 cybercabs, but there were an additional 30 Model Ys operating fully autonomously the entire night, carrying thousands of people doing, with no incidents the entire night. And for those who went there, it's worth emphasizing that the cybercab had no steering wheel or brake or accelerator pedals, meaning there was no way for anyone to intervene manually, even if they wanted to, and the whole night went very smoothly. So, regarding the vehicle business, we are still on track to deliver more affordable models starting in the first half of 2025. This is, I think probably people are wondering, well, what should they assume for vehicle sales growth next year? And at the risk of to take a bit of risk here, I do want to give some rough estimate, which is I think it's 20 to 30% vehicle growth next year. Notwithstanding negative external events, like if there's some force majeure events, like some big war breaks out or interest rates go sky high or something like that, then we can't overcome massive force majeure events. But I think with our lower cost vehicles, with the advent of autonomy, something like a 20 to 30% growth next year is my best guess. And then Cybercab reaching volume production in 26. We do feel confident of Cybercab reaching volume production in 26, not just starting production, but reaching volume production in 26. And that should be substantial growth. We're aiming for at least 2 million units a year of Cybercab. That'll be in more than one factory, but I think it's at least 2 million units a year, maybe 4 million ultimately. These are just my best guesses, but if you ask me what my best guess is, those are my best guesses. The 46, the cell 4680 lines, the team is actually doing great work there. The 4680 is rapidly approaching the point where it is the most competitive cell. So when you consider the fully landed, the cost of a battery pack fully landed in the US, net of incentives and duties, the 4680 is tracking to be the most competitive, meaning lower cost per kilowatt hour fully considered than any other alternative, which is not quite there yet, but we're close to being there, which I think is extremely exciting. And we've got a lot of ideas to go well beyond that. So I think if we execute well, the 4680 will have the Tesla internally produced cell will be the most cost competitive cell in certainly North America. A testament to a tremendous amount of hard work there by the team. So that's it. We'll continue to buy a lot of cells from our competitors. Our intent is not to make cells just internally. So I don't want to set off any alarm bells here. We're obviously increasing substantially our vehicle output and our stationary storage output. So we need a lot of cells. And most of them will still come from suppliers, but I think it is some good news that the Tesla internal cell is tracking to be the most competitive in the US. So with respect to autonomy, as people are experiencing in the cars, really from week to week, there are significant improvements in the miles between interventions. So with the new version 12.5, the release of Full Self-Driving in Cybertruck, the combining the code into a single stack so that the city driving and the end-to-end highway driving are one stack, which is a big improvement for the highway driving. So it's just all neural nets, and the release of actually Smart Summon. We try to have a sense of humor here at Tesla. And we're also, so that's 12.5. Version 13 of FSD is going out soon. Ashok will elaborate more on that later in the call. And we expect to see roughly a 5 or 6 fold improvement in miles between interventions compared to 12.5. And actually, looking at the year as a whole, the improvement in miles between interventions, we think will be at least 3 orders of magnitude. So that's a very dramatic improvement in the course of the year, and we expect that trend to continue next year. So the current internal expectation, emphasizing internal expectation for the Tesla FSD having longer miles between intervention than human is the second quarter of next year, which means it may end up being the third quarter, but it's next. It seems extremely likely to be next year. Sure, do you want to?
Yeah, and measuring miles
Next
between critical
year.
interventions. Yeah, like you mentioned, Elon, we already made a 100x improvement with 12.5 from starting of this year, and then with V13 release, we expect to be 1000x from the beginning, from January of this year on my production release software. And this came in because of technology improvements, going to end-to-end, having higher frame rate, partly also helped by hardware force, more capabilities, so on. And we hope that we continue to scale the neural network, the data, the training compute, etc. By Q2 next year, we should cross over the average human miles per critical intervention, or like collision in that case.
I mean, that is just unvarnished our internal estimate.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's no sandbagging or anything else. Our internal estimate is Q2 of next year to be safer than human, and then to continue with rapid improvements thereafter. Now a lot. Vast majority of humanity has no idea that Teslas can drive themselves. So, especially for something like a Model 3 or Model Y, it looks like a normal car. So you don't expect a normal car to be able to be intelligent enough to drive itself. The Cybercab looks different. Cybertruck looks different, but Model Y and Model 3 they're good-looking cars, but they look fairly normal. You don't expect a fairly normal-looking car to have the intelligence, enough AI to be able to drive itself, but it does. So we do want to expose that to more people, and so we're doing, every time we have a significant improvement in the software, we'll roll out another sort of 30-day trial, so to encourage people to try it again. And we are seeing a significant improvement in adoption. So the take rate for FSD has improved substantially, especially after the 1010 event. Yeah, so there's no need to wait for Robotaxi or Cybercab to experience full autonomy. We expect to achieve that next year with our existing vehicle lineup.
For what it's worth, actually, Smart Summon gives a small taste of what it's going to look like the car able to drive itself to the user within private parking lots. Currently, it's speed limited, but then it's going to quickly be increased. And we already had more than 1 million usage attempts of Smart Summon.
Yep. So And we actually, we have, for Tesla employees in the Bay Area, we already are offering a ride hailing capability. So you can actually use, with the development app, you can request a ride. And it'll take you anywhere in the Bay Area. We do have a safety driver for now, but the software required to do that, we've developed. And I mean, David, do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, sure. It's David. We showed some screenshots of this in the Q1 shareholder deck. And yeah, this is real. We've been testing it for the better part of the year, and the building blocks that we needed in order to build this functionality and deliver it to production, we've been thinking about and working on for years. It just so happens that we've used those building blocks to deliver great features for our customers in the meantime, such as sharing your profile, synchronizing it across cars so that every single car that you jump into, whether it's, you know, another car that you own or a car that somebody's loaned to you or a rental car that you jump into, it looks exactly like yours. Everything synchronized, seat mirror positions, you know, media, navigation, everything is the same, just what you would expect from one of our Robotaxis. But, you know, we gave that functionality to our customers right now because we built it intending for it to be used in the future. But we're releasing that functionality now. All the end-to-end cybersecurity that we knew we were going to need to deliver that functionality, sending a navigation to destination from your phone to the vehicle. And so, you know, you're doing that now with the ride hailing app, but it's something that we've made available to customers for years. Seeing the progress on a route in the mobile app, that's something you'll need for the ride hailing app. But again, we released it in the meantime. So it's not like we're just starting to think about this stuff right now while we're building out, you know, the early stages of our ride hailing network. We've been thinking about this for quite a long time, and we're excited to get the functionality out there.
Yeah, and we do expect to roll out ride hailing in California and Texas next year to the public. Now, the California is somewhat, there's quite a long regulatory approval process. It shouldn't. I think we should get approval next year, but it's contingent upon regulatory approval. Texas is a lot faster, so it's you know, I'd say like we'll definitely have it available in Texas, and probably have it available in California, subject to regulatory approval, and then and maybe some other states actually next year as well, but at least California and Texas. So I think that'd be very exciting. That's really a profound change. Tesla becomes more than a sort of vehicle and you know, battery manufacturing company at that point. So we published our Q3 vehicle safety report, which shows one crash for every 7 million miles of autopilot. That compares to the U.S. average of one crash roughly every 700,000 miles. So it's currently showing a 10x safety improvement relative to the U.S. average. And we continue to expand our AI training capacity to accommodate the needs of both FSD and Optimus. We are currently not training compute constrained. That's probably the biggest limiting factors that the FSD is actually getting so good that it takes us a while to actually find mistakes. And when you start getting to where it can take 10,000 miles to find a mistake, it takes a while to actually figure out which is this build, is this software build better than, is software build A better than software build B? It actually takes a while to figure it out because neither one of them are making mistakes. What take a long time to make mistakes. So that's actually the single biggest limiting factor is how long does it take us to figure out which version is better. So sort of high class problem. Obviously, having a giant fleet is very helpful for breaking this out. And then with Optimus, we showed a massive improvement in Optimus's dexterity and movement on October 10th, and our next gen hand and forearm, which has 22 degrees of freedom, which is double the prior hand and forearm. It's extremely human-like. It also has much better tactile sensing. It's really, I feel confident in saying that we have the most advanced humanoid robot by a long shot. And we're moreover the only company that really has all of the ingredients necessary to scale humanoid robots. Because the things that what other companies are missing is that they're missing the AI brain, and they're missing the ability to really scale to very high volume production. So you sometimes see some impressive video demos, but they lack the localized AI and the ability to scale volume to very high numbers. As I've said on a few occasions before, I think Optimus will ultimately be the most valuable part of it. And I think it has a good chance of being the most valuable product ever made. For the energy business, that's doing extremely well. And there's the opportunity ahead is gigantic. The Lathrop Megapack factory reached 200 megapacks a week, which is now a 40 gigawatt hour a year run rate. And we have a second factory in Shanghai that will begin with a 20 gigawatt hour a year run rate in Q1 next year, so just next quarter. That'll also scale up. It won't be long before we're shipping 100 gigawatt hours a year stationary storage at Tesla. That'll ultimately grow, I think, to multiple terawatt hours per year. It has to, actually, in order to have a sustainable energy future. If you're not at the terawatt scale, you're not really moving the needle. So if you look at our admittedly very complicated last master plan, which I think actually has too much detail, maybe I'll ask Grok to analyze it and
shorten it up.
Yeah, give us the TLDR on the last master plan. But we showed in that master plan that it is possible to take all of Earth to a fully sustainable energy situation using sustainable energy, power generation, and batteries and electric transport. And there are no fundamental material limitations. Like there's not some very rare material that we don't have enough of on Earth. We actually have enough of the raw materials to take all of human civilization, make it fully sustainable. And even if civilization dramatically increased its electricity usage, it would still be fully sustainable. You know, one way to think of the progress of a civilization, this may sound a little esoteric, but is percentage completion of Kardashev scale. So Kardashev scale 1 would be you're using all the power of a planet. We're currently less than 1% on Kardashev level 1. Level 2 would be using all the power of the sun. And level 3, all the power of the galaxy. So we got a long way to go. Long way to go. When you think in Kardashev terms, it becomes obvious that by far the biggest source of energy is the sun. Everything else is in the noise. So in conclusion, Tesla is focused on building the future of energy, transport, robotics, and AI. And this is a time when others are just focused on managing around near-term trends. We think what we're doing is the right approach. And if we execute on our objectives, and I think we will, Tesla, my prediction is Tesla will become the most valuable company in the world, and probably by a long shot. I want to thank the Tesla team once again for strong execution in a tough operating environment. And we're looking forward to building an incredibly exciting future. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Elon. And Bob has some opening remarks as well.
Yeah, thanks. Our Q3 results were overall positive and once again demonstrate the scale to which business has evolved over the years with the generation of record operating cash flows of $6.3 billion. Our automotive revenues grew both quarter-on-quarter and year-on-year. While we had unit volume growth, we did experience reduction in ASPs, primarily due to the impact of financing incentives. As a reminder, we are providing these incentives primarily using third-party banks and financial institutions and recognize the cost of these incentives as an upfront reduction to revenue. We released FSD for Cybertruck and other features like Actually Smart Summon, like Elon talked about in North America, which contributed 326 million of revenues in the quarter. We continue to see elevated levels of regulatory credit sales with over 2 billion of revenues so far this year. To expand on this, at an industry level, China continues to outperform US and Europe by a factor of 3. And if there is something to be learned from that, this gives a signal of what is to come in other regions as customers' acceptance of EV grows. And we feel that is the right strategy to build affordable and more compelling leads. Our focus remains on growing unit volume while avoiding a buildup of inventory. To support this strategy, we're continuing to offer extremely compelling vehicle financing options in every market. When you compare any vehicle in our lineup with other OEMs, we believe our vehicles provide much better value, particularly when you consider the safety features, performance, and unparalleled software functionalities like David also talked about, include also what Ashok had talked about around autonomy, music options, parental controls, and much more. While every vehicle in our lineup comes up with these capabilities, there is an awareness gap, not just with buyers, but at times even with existing owners. We plan on making these more visible in our interactions with both existing and future customers. Automotive margins improved quarter-over-quarter as a result of FSD feature release discussed before. Increase in our overall production and delivery volume, continued benefit from commodity pricing, and more localized deliveries in region, which resulted in lower freight and duties. Sustaining these margins in Q4, however, will be challenging given the current economic environment. Note that we are focused on the cost per vehicle, and there are numerous work streams within the company to squeeze out costs without compromising on customer experience.
Yeah, something that's a helpful, hopefully a helpful macro trend is if there's a decline in interest rates, this has a massive effect on the on automotive demand. The vast majority of people, the demand is driven by the monthly payment. Can they afford the monthly payment? So I think most likely we'll see continued decline in interest rates, which helps with affordability of vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, that is one trend which we observed in the industry that, because of the affordability being impacted because of interest rates, people are holding on to the cars longer, especially in the US. And that is actually having an impact on the overall industry too. As we discussed earlier, as we discussed in prior quarters, energy deployments fluctuate quarter-over-quarter due to customer readiness, location of orders being fulfilled, and not necessarily an indicator of demand or production within the quarter. While we did see a decline in Q3, we expect to grow deployments sequentially in Q4 to end the year with more than double of last year. Energy margins in Q3 were a record at more than 30%. This is a function of mix of projects being deployed in the quarter. Note that there will be fluctuation in margins as we manage through deployments and our inventory. Our pipeline and backlog continue to grow quarter-over-quarter as we fill our 2025 production slots, and we're doing our level best to keep up with the demand. Just coming back on automotive margins, I talked about what is happening. One other thing which I want to also share is that we will continue to keep whatever we can to squeeze, like I said before, about squeezing out the cost. But this is something which we also are very capable of. I mean, just in Q3, we reached our lowest cost per vehicle, and that is a trend which we want to keep focus on. Then going on to service and other, we continue to show improvements in Q3. This was a result of better performance both in our service business, which includes collision, part sales, and merchandise, and continued growth in supercharging. These fleet-based revenues will continue to grow as the overall fleet size increases. Our operating expenses declined quarter-over-quarter and on a year-on-year basis. This is partially due to the restructuring we undertook in Q2. Cost saving from these initiatives were partially offset by increase in costs related to our AI efforts. We've started using the GPU cluster based out of our factory in Austin ahead of schedule and are on track to get 50K GPUs deployed in Texas by the end of this month. One thing which I'd like to elaborate is that we're being very judicious on our AI compute spend too, and saying how best we can utilize the existing infrastructure before making further investments. On the CapEx front, we had over $3.5 billion in the quarter. This was a sequential increase largely because of investments in AI compute. We now expect the CapEx for the year to be in excess of $11 billion. We shared our vision for the future at the We Robot event at the beginning of the month. The Tesla team is hyper-focused on delivering on that vision, and all efforts are underway to make it a reality. While we've achieved significant progress this year, it will take time to get this as we pioneer new and incredibly complex technologies and navigate a fragmented regulatory landscape. Future is incredibly bright, and I want to thank the Tesla team once again for all their hard work.
Great. Thank you very much, Vaibhav. Now we'll go to investor questions. The first one is Tesla still on track to deliver the more affordable model next year, as mentioned by Elon earlier, and how does it align with your AI and product roadmap?
Sure. I mean, as Elon and Vaibhav both said, we are in plan to meet that in the first half of next year. Our mission has always been to lower the cost of our vehicles to increase the adoption of sustainable energy and transport. Part of that is lowering the cost of our current vehicles, which is where all of the personally owned vehicles that we sell today come in. But the next stage in that really, as it fits into AI roadmap, is when we bring in Robotaxis, which lowers the initial cost of getting into an EV. And that's really where we see the marriage of EV roadmap and the AI roadmap.
Yeah. It'll be like with incentives sub 30K, which is kind of a key threshold.
Great. Thank you very much. Similar question next. When can we expect Tesla to give us the $25,000 non-Robotaxi regular car model?
We're not making it on Robo.
Yeah, all our vehicles today are Robotaxis.
I think we've made very clear that we're the future is autonomous. I mean, it's going to be, and I actually said this many years ago, but that in my strong belief, and I believe that is panning out to be true, and it'll be very obvious in retrospect, is that the future is autonomous electric vehicles, and non-autonomous gasoline vehicles in the future will be like riding a horse and using a flip phone. It's not that there are no horses. Yeah, there are some horses, but they're unusual. They're niche. So it just everything's going to be electric autonomous. I think this is blind, like it should be frankly blindingly obvious at this point that is the future. So a lot of automotive companies, most automotive companies have not internalized this, which is surprising, because we've been shouting this from the rooftops for such a long time, and it will accrue to their detriment in the future. But all of our vehicles in the future will be autonomous.
Even today.
Yeah, yes, all the vehicles that we've really made, all the 7 million vehicles, the vast majority are capable of autonomy. We're currently making on the order of 35,000 autonomous vehicles a week. If you compare that to, say, Waymo's entire fleet, they have less than 1,000 cars. We make 35K a week.
Yeah, and our cars look normal.
Yeah, they mostly look normal. The Cybertruck looks,
Yes.
thankfully, looks abnormal. And then the Cybercab / Robotaxi, we wanted to have something futuristic looking. I think it does look futuristic. And it's worth noting with respect to the Cybercab, it's actually not just a revolution in vehicle design, but a revolution in vehicle manufacturing. That is also coming with the Cybercab. The cycle time, like the units per hour of the Cybercab line, it is like, this is just really something special. I mean, this is will be half order of magnitude better than other car manufacturing lines. Like not in the same league is what I'm saying. Not in the same league. So it's you know, and I said like several years ago that maybe the most the hardest Tesla product to copy will be the factory. You can't just like buy a factory.
Yeah, you can't reverse engineer a factory. It's have to buy it.
Yeah, it's like, you know, yeah. And as we're rapidly evolving in manufacturing technology. So anyway, there's like basically, I think having a regular 25K model is pointless.
Yeah,
It would be silly. Like, it would be completely at odds with what we believe.
in an autonomous world, what matters is the lowest cost per mile of efficiency of that vehicle, and that's what we've done with the Robotaxi.
Exactly. Autonomous, it's fully considered cost per mile, is what matters. And if you try to make a car that is, you know, essentially a hybrid manual automatic car, it's not going to be as good as a dedicated autonomous car. So yeah, Cybercab is just not going to have steering wheels and pedals. It's fully designed, optimized for autonomy. But no, it'll you know, cost on the order of cost roughly 25K. So it is a 25K car, and you will be able to buy one on it exclusively if you want. So just won't have steering wheel and pedals. You don't need it.
Great. Thank you very much. The next question is, what is Tesla doing to alleviate long wait times at service centers?
So we aim on solving problems at the source, so at the factory, before they can even affect our customers. We believe the best service is no service, and
Yeah, it really is.
don't even have them.
If the car doesn't break,
Yeah, exactly.
that's the best thing.
Don't see anyone with the Tesla shirt. You either do it remote,
Yeah.
fix the issue upstream, or do it remotely, do it through software. They can be at work or at home, and you know, the car can be parked, and we address and fix the issue. And we've partnered the field with service to make sure we're looking at the same issues. And additionally, just in Q3 and Q4 of this year alone, we have opened and will open in total at nearly 70 locations. And in North America, we significantly expanded the size of each location and have doubled the size last year compared to this year.
Yeah, I think there's like actually a lot of merit to having large service centers, because you can have specialization of labor. You can start to approach. Yeah, it should be more factory-like. You know, where you can have dedicated lanes for particular types of service, and it's way easier for somebody to become expert in a few different types of repairs than in every repair.
Exactly. This has helped us with the base instead of these heavy repairs, like clogging up a lane. There's dedicated lanes for different type of repairs. And so it's throughput matters and really treating it like a factory.
This is where Tesla's structure, I think, Tesla has a structural advantage relative to the rest of the auto industry, because we make the cars and we service the cars, whereas I think there's a bit of a conflict of interest with the dealer model and the sort of traditional OEM and dealer model, where the dealerships make most of their money on service, and so they obviously are disincented to reduce the servicing cost.
Yeah.
Whereas in our case, we are incented to reduce the servicing cost because we carry that servicing cost, and we've got a good feedback loop with our cars.
The best.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like we review with the factory, with the service leaders together, and send people from the factories to the field and field to the factory to see it firsthand.
Exactly.
Provide suggestions for, you know, manufacturing as well as for engineering on design.
Yeah, so I view this as a fundamental structural advantage of Tesla versus the rest of the auto industry.
Also doing a bunch of work on the software side, not only to automate, you know, diagnostics, so identifying, you know, what needs to be done to a car before it comes into service, but also automating all of the preparation work and aligning all the resources that are necessary in order for the car to be very efficiently worked on once it arrives. So the parts are there, like the lift is scheduled, the
Yeah.
technician's scheduled, like everything's
Yeah,
ready
like
to
the
go.
car says, this is what's wrong with me, and tells the service center.
The car.
Get everything ready in advance.
Yeah, please fix me, and this is what's wrong.
Yeah, this is what I recommend you do now. This is what I recommend you do.
Instead of customer trying to translate the car is telling us directly and we're pulling that. Yeah,
Yeah, you don't need, most of the time, you don't need to diagnose the car
exactly.
when it arrives. The car, yeah, this is like, again,
You
a
prep the car.
fundamental technology advantage and structural advantage compared to the rest of the auto industry. It's,
I think it's underappreciated as to what all we are able to do.
Yeah.
And that's why, because like you said before, most of our cars, except for Cybertruck, look the same,
yeah,
right? So people don't realize that it has so much capability.
yeah. They look better than other cars, but they're not like obviously like super futuristic.
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much. The next question is, please provide an update on the Semi. What will the next stage of growth look like, and when will FSD be ready?
Sure. So as we posted in the earnings deck, we're progressing swiftly on the build of the semi factory in our Gigafactory in Reno. We've released all our major capital expenditures for that program, and we're on track to start pilot builds in the second half of next year, with production starting the first half of 2026 and ramping really throughout the year to full production. Semi, growth will largely depend on our customers' adoption of the product.
Well, I don't think we're gonna be demand limited, honestly.
Yeah, which I was gonna say, which is like a
Not at all.
no-brainer for the
Yeah.
semi, because it's really a commodity of total cost of ownership.
Yes, exactly. We have kind of ridiculous demand for the semi.
In that world where it's about how much do I spend to
Yeah,
move goods
exactly.
cents per mile, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, fundamentally, if you've got a semi where the fully considered cost per mile per ton of transport is better than, say, a diesel truck, any company that doesn't adopt an electric semi will lose. It's not a subjective thing. It's like of whether do you like the
It's a
stat.
competitive.
I mean, we want the stat. We want to have a beautiful semi truck, but frankly, if we made an ugly semi truck, it wouldn't matter.
And this is proving so in our fleets and in Pepsi's
Yeah.
a partner. In fact, the Pepsi actually said last week their drivers don't want to go back. They want to stay.
Yeah. But it's as soon as we give anyone the electric semi, it's like that's like the choice.
It's what they want to drive.
Yeah. That's like so the most senior, like their top drivers, well, they get to drive the Tesla semi.
And
It's the thing they want to drive. It's super fun to drive.
it's also very easy to drive.
It's easy to drive and it holds ass.
Yeah.
It's like fast.
Super fast. Maybe too fast.
Well, but I mean, like regular like you've seen like the videos of where like the Tesla electric semi can go uphill.
And
Speed,
pass.
speeding past like the diesel truck.
Or even cars.
Yeah, even cars. So it's responsive. It's you floor it and the truck actually moves.
But then that's a benefit not only for the driver and for the goods, but also for safety in terms of other drivers on the road. You don't get stuck behind the semi. You're not in a slowdown situation in the on-ramp. I mean, how that plays into, FSD, which is the second part of the question. All of the semis have been, since the couple hundred we've deployed already, and the ones that we'll be building next year and throughout the future, have all of the hardware and the cameras necessary to deploy FSD, and we're currently training with that small fleet that we have. And as soon as the fleet is trained and the neural nets are up, we'll get FSD onto that platform.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a massive improvement in driver fatigue, because and driver safety. We've got sort of the anti-jackknifing software.
Mhm.
You don't have to worry about your brakes overheating if you go down a steep hill, because we use regenerative, like that energy goes back into the pack.
Actually, when we leave Reno,
So it's just like it's like radically better than a diesel semi. It's why the drivers love it.
Great, guys. Thank you very much. Our next question is, when will Tesla incorporate X and Grok in all of the Tesla vehicles?
Well, I mean, these are relatively small fry things, but yeah, I think we'll keep expanding, what is available in the car on the screen, and also improving like the browser. So like just generally you can access anything you want in the car. In fact, for the Tesla, you know, once you get to full autonomy, you actually want fully a system that is can do anything. Like if you want to browse the internet, if you want to you know, ask AI questions, if you want to watch a movie, if you want to play a video game, if you want to do some productivity thing, you can do anything you want in an autonomous vehicle because you don't need to drive. So that's why the Cybercab's got a nice big screen and a great sound system. So you can watch a great movie with. It's like being like in a
Personal movie theater.
yeah, personal movie theater. It's awesome.
Yeah, this is why we've been building this functionality, adding gaming to the car, adding
Yeah.
movies and other, you know, all sorts of different media applications to the car because, you know,
The cars are.
that's what you're gonna, the cars that we build today.
There's some
That's
really
what we-
fun games, by the way. If people haven't tried it, there's like Castle Doombad and Polytopia and a bunch of really fun games in the car.
We're constantly looking at, you know, what features to add next, and we're paying attention to what's most commonly requested by our customers.
Yeah, play Castle Doombad. You won't regret it.
Great. Thank you guys very much. The next question is, Elon mentioned unsupervised FSD in California and Texas next year. Does that mean regulators have agreed to it in the entire state for existing hardware 3 and 4 vehicles?
No, as I said earlier, you know, California loves regulation.
But they have a pathway.
Yeah, I mean, there's a pathway. Obviously, Waymo operates in California, so there's just a lot of forms to fill out and a lot of approvals that are required. I mean, I'd be shocked if we don't get approval next year, but it's just not something we totally control. But I think we will get approval next year in California and Texas, and towards the end of the year, it will branch out beyond California and Texas.
I mean, I think it's important to reiterate this, like homologating or certifying a vehicle at the federal level in the US is done by meeting FMVSS regulations. All our vehicles today that are produced that are autonomous capable meet all those regulations. The Cybercab will meet those regulations. And so the deployment of the vehicle to the road is not a limitation. What is a limitation is what you said at the state level, where they control autonomous vehicle deployment. Some states are relatively easy, as you mentioned, for Texas.
Yeah.
And so other ones have pathways like California that may take a little longer. Other ones haven't set up anything yet. And so we will work through those state by state and get it.
I do think we should have a federal.
I agree.
Like autonomous vehicles should be approved. It should be possible to.
Congress, if you're listening, let's get a federal AV.
There should be a federal approval process for autonomous vehicles. I mean, that's how the FMVSS is a
Started and worked.
federal motor vehicle. The FMVSS is federal.
Yeah, so I mean,
Um,
in 2017 and 18, it's when regulators started looking at it, and it's really kind of stalled since then, but we would appreciate and would support
Yeah.
helping out with those
It
regulations.
really needs to be like a national approval is important. You know, if there's a Department of Government Efficiency, I'll try to help make that happen. And do it for everyone, not just Tesla,
Yeah.
obviously. But you know, just we like some things in the US are state by state regulated, like for example, insurance, and it's like it's incredibly painful to do it state by state, 50 states. And I think there should be a national approval process for autonomy. So,
Great. Thanks, guys. The next question is, what is the plan for 2025?
I mean, I think we're just talking.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we talked through this. There's a lot going on. Elon already mentioned that we're working on cheaper models to come out. I mean, there's work which the team is doing to get the factories ready today to try and make that happen.
Yeah, by the way, the amount of work required to make a lower cost car is insanely high. But like, it is harder to get like 20% of the cost out of a car than it is to design the car and build the entire factory in the first place.
Mhm.
It's like excruciating. And there's not a lot of movies made about the heroes who got 20% of the cost out of a car. But let me tell you, there should be.
Little change.
Whoever who got that is incredibly heroic.
It's a little changes. It's not like a silver
Yeah,
bullet.
it's like there should be the heroes who got 20% cost out of a car. Is like, damn, I have a lot of respect to them.
We were talking
movie. It's like, you know, I think you probably could make a compelling movie, but it just no like, if you actually saw how hard if people actually saw how hard it was to do that, you'd be like, whoa, that's damn hard.
just yesterday, we were talking about potting.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you're like literally, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of But I do call it sort of like getting cost out of things. It's kind of like, it's like game of pennies. It's like Game of Thrones, but pennies. You know, first approximation, if you've got 10,000 items in a car, very rough approximation, and each of them costs $4, then you have a $40,000 car. So then if you want to make a $35,000 car, you've got to get 50 cents on average out of the 10,000 items.
Every time, every part.
Yeah. And it's like, and then obviously the best is you delete some parts. In fact, we found we're able to delete a lot of parts. I'm very excited about the Cyber Cap design and the both, how we're rethinking the design of a car for the Cyber Cap, designing it for ultra high volume production, and then designing a machine that builds the machine that I think is also revolutionary. And it's just that there's no other car company that's even trying to do what we're doing. Like, I've even heard of it, actually. In fact, I'm certain there isn't one. I think our new machine that builds the machine, like it's inherent, like it's designed to be like, five times better than a traditional factory, like cycle time.
Cycle time and like part deletion and chip movement. I don't think any other car company has the same level of like integration of thought that we have when it comes to like when you design a part from a white sheet of paper, who's going to make it? Where is it going to be made? How's it going to be shipped? How's it going to be assembled into the vehicle? And like at any one point, if something is done in a silo, it becomes a bottleneck of either cost or time or efficiency. But with the Robotaxi, the development, like we've done a good job on combining all that and then like blowing up how it's made and saying it should be made this way and rethinking it all so that it's the most efficient factory possible. That shows it will show in our CapEx efficiency when we deploy it. It shows in the number of parts, it shows in the simplicity of the vehicle, but also how it performs in terms of like end user state.
Yeah.
Just to close out, just on the energy front, also in 25, we will have started manufacturing at the Mega Factory Shanghai. We'll continue to increase our storage deployments with Powerwall 3. We plan to continue expanding our supercharging network, getting more OEMs on our network, 4680 in that cell ramp, as Elon talked about. That would keep going. And then we also will have our lithium refinery starting to produce. So there's a lot which is going on.
Great. Yeah, so many things.
Yeah.
I mean, the crazy thing is like Tesla's winning basically on almost every single thing we're doing. If we're not winning now, we're on track to win. In arenas where there are entire large companies, that's the only thing they do.
Yeah. I mean, it's a company, there are multiple companies within the company.
Yeah, Tesla's like many companies doing one.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, guys. Just a few more. What is going on with the Tesla Roadster?
Fun things.
Well, I just like to thank our long-suffering deposit holders of the Tesla Roadster. The reason it hasn't come out yet is because the Roadster is not just the icing on the cake; it's the cherry on the icing on the cake. And so, our larger mission is to accelerate the progress towards a sustainable energy future. Try to do things that maximize the probability that the future is good for humanity and for Earth. And so that necessarily means that like the things like that are kind of like dessert. We'd all love to work on the Tesla, the next gen Tesla Roadster. It is super fun, and we are working on it. But it has to come behind the more things that have a more serious impact on the good of the world. So just thank you to all our long-suffering Tesla Roadster deposit holders. And we are actually finally making progress on that. And we're close to finalizing the design on that. It's really going to be something spectacular. A friend of mine, Peter Thiel, and sometimes people think of Peter Thiel and I are rivals. We're really good friends. To be clear, Peter, was lamenting how the future doesn't have flying cars. Well, we'll see.
More to come.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. The next one is quite similar to other questions we've had, so I might combine it with the final question. So briefly, could you just detail how Robotaxi will roll out? Will it start with a Tesla deployed fleet and then allow customers to add theirs on like a subscription model? And then will Hardware 3 be capable of level 5 FSD?
Regarding the Hardware 3, what we saw with 12.5 was it was easier to make rapid progress with starting with Hardware 4 and figuring out the solution and then backporting it to Hardware 3 instead of directly working on Hardware 3, given that Hardware 4 has more like fundamental hardware capabilities. I think that trend will continue into the next few quarters as well, where we first figure out the solution rapidly with AI4 and then backport it, write the kernels. It just takes longer to develop those things because it's not fundamentally supported in the hardware and it's emulated. But yeah, it's initially working on Hardware 4, backporting it to Hardware 3.
Yeah, so it's, I guess the answer is we're not 100% sure, but our as Ashok mentioned, because by some measures Hardware 4 has really several times the capability of Hardware 3. It's easier to get things to work with Hardware 4, and then it takes a lot of effort to sort of squeeze that functionality into Hardware 3. There is some chance that Hardware 3 does not achieve the safety level that allows for unsupervised FSD. There is some chance of that, and if that turns out to be the case, we will upgrade those who have bought Hardware 3 FSD for free, and we have designed the system to be upgradable. So, and it's really more, just to switch out the computer type of thing. Like the cameras are okay, they're capable, but anyway, we don't actually know the answer to that. But if it does turn out, we'll make sure we take care of those who have bought FSD on Hardware 3.
Great. In the last few minutes that we have left, we will try to get in some analyst questions. The first question will be coming from Pierre Farragut at New Street. Pierre, please feel free to unmute yourself.
Thanks a lot, guys, for taking my question. I was wondering about the compute you're ramping up. So you gave interesting statistics on how much you have, and you said you don't feel you're compute constrained. And I was wondering, how you are putting to work this additional compute. Is that a game for you of creating larger and larger models, like next generation of models that are larger, the way OpenAI go from GPT-3 to GPT-4? Or is that more like you're set on your model and you need to throw more and more compute to accelerate the pace of learning to improve reliability? And then I had a quick follow-up real quick on your rollout in Texas and in California next year. The plan as you see it today, is it to roll out a fleet or two with cars that will start with a supervisory, some onboard supervision, someone sitting at the wheel just in case, and removing the supervisors progressively? Or are you aiming for going fully fledged without even a human supervisor when you get started?
Okay, well, I guess we're going to. I'll answer the first part of the question. The nature of real world AI is different from, say, an LLM, in that you have a massive amount of context. So that you've got case of Tesla 7 or 8 cameras that 9 up to 9 if you include the internal camera that so you've got gigabytes of context, and that is then distilled down into a small number of control outputs. Whereas it's like it's very rare to have. In fact, I'm not sure any LLM out there can do gigabytes of context. And then you've got to then process that in the car with a very small amount of compute power. So, you know, it's all doable and it's happening, but it is a different problem than what, say, a Gemini or an OpenAI is doing. And now, part of the way you can make up for the fact that the inference computer is quite small is by spending a lot of effort on training. And just like a human, like you, the more you train on something, the less mental workload it takes when you try when you do it. Like when the first time, like a human starts driving, it absorbs your whole mind. But then, as you train more and more on driving, get very good, then the driving becomes a background task. It only absorbs a small amount of your mental capacity because you have a lot of training. So we can make up for the fact that the inference computer is it's tiny compared to a 10 kilowatt bank of GPUs, because you've got a few hundred watts of inference compute. We can make up that with heavy training. So yeah, that's and then there's also vast amounts of the actual petabytes of data coming in are tremendous. And then sorting out what training is important with of the vast amounts of video training or video data coming in from the fleet, what is actually most important for training? That's also quite difficult. But as I said, we're not currently training compute constrained. I'm sure if you want to elaborate on it.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, the training helps both train larger models, also to train quicker. But in the end, we still got to pick which models are performing better. So the validation effort to picking the models, because the miles per intervention is pretty large, we have to drive a lot of miles to know in closed loop. We do have simulation and other ways to get those metrics. Those two help, but in the end, that's a big bottleneck. Yeah, that's why we're not training compute constraint alone. And there's other axis of scaling as well, which is the data, figuring out which data is more useful. That is an important task, and we're focusing on that.
Yeah.
So as it relates to the second part of your question, Pierre, about safety drivers and rolling it out, each state has different requirements that, in terms of how many miles and how much time you need to have a safety driver and not have a safety driver. We're going to follow all those. We're not going to violate whatever regulations are out there, but safety is a priority. But the goal is obviously when we're ready and safety is there, we'll remove the drivers from the rideshare program.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like we think that we'll be able to have driverless Teslas doing paid rides next year, sometime next year.
Next
All
year.
right, thank you. And our next question comes from Adam Jonas at Morgan Stanley. Adam, please feel free to unmute yourself.
Okay, thanks everybody. Just had a question about the relationship between Tesla and xAI. Many investors are still not clear how the work at xAI is truly beneficial to Tesla. Some even take the view that the two companies may even be in competition with each other in terms of talent and tech, and even your time, Elon. So what's your message to investors on that relationship between Tesla and xAI, and where do you see it going over time? Thanks.
Well, I should say that xAI has been helpful to Tesla AI quite a few times in terms of things like scaling up, like training. Just even like recently in the last week or so, improvements in fault-tolerant training, where if you're doing a big training run and a node fails, being able to continue training and easy to recover from on a training run, xAI has been pretty helpful. But there are different problems. xAI is working on artificial general intelligence or artificial superintelligence. Tesla is trying to make autonomous cars and autonomous robots. They're different problems. So Yeah, I mean,
I think we've said this before also, like not all AI is equal, right? I mean, AI is a broad spectrum
yeah,
and we have our own swim lanes. Yes, there are certain things which we can collaborate on if needed, but for the most part, we're solving different issues.
yeah, Tesla's focused on real world AI. And like I was saying earlier, it is quite a bit different from an LLM. Because you have massive context in the form of video and some amount of audio that's going to be distilled very like with extremely efficient inference compute. I do think Tesla is the most efficient in the world in terms of inference compute, like because out of necessity, we have to be very good at efficient inference. We can't put 10 kilowatts of GPUs in a car. We've got a couple hundred watts, and it's a pretty well designed Tesla AI chip, but it's still a couple hundred watts. But they are different problems. I mean, it's just, like the stuff that XAI does, like when it's running inference. I mean, it is running inference, like it's answering questions, it's answering testing questions on a 10 kilowatt rack. It's like, can't put that in a car. It's a different problem.
Please no.
No, exactly. So, XAI is because I felt there wasn't a truth-seeking digital superintelligence company out there. Like that's what it came down to. That there needed to be a truth-seeking, an AI company that is just very rigorous about being truthful. And so I'm not saying XAI is perfect, but that is that is at least the explicit aspiration. Even if something is, politically incorrect, it should still be truthful. I think this is very important for AI safety. So anyway, I think XAI has been helpful to Tesla and will continue to be helpful to Tesla, but there are very different problems.
Great.
And I mean, like if you also think what other car company has a world-class chip design team? Like zero. What other car company has a world-class AI team like Tesla does? Zero. Those were all startups that were created from scratch.
Great. Thank you, Elon. And I think that's unfortunately all the time that we have for today. We appreciate all of your questions and we look forward to hearing from you next quarter. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Wow, that's it. Wow, it was a lot of, I'm going to say, not babbling. He said a lot of the same stuff. One of those things that stood out for me there after making videos and investigating this is the Hardware 3 at the Wii Robot event. There were definitely questions about what about Hardware 3 and FSD. And Franz backstage with Kim Java, Tesla influencer, she makes videos. She asked Franz, I think, and somebody else there, and they said, yes, good to go. FSD for Hardware 3 is good to go. Elon dodged the question. That's when he said, let's not get nuanced here. Next slide, please. And then he laughed kind of nervously. And so he did answer that question in that call. He basically said that if it doesn't work on Hardware 3, we will be refunding. And I think that's millions of vehicles. It's more than 2 million vehicles that are capable. Not everybody would have bought FSD, of course, but that's a significant step. And I'd say because they're under investigation, under probes, that he obviously decided to say that, and they must have run the numbers on that. And that'll be news. That is news from that call. I think that he said that. Not a lot of the other things he said were really news, just more of the kind of puffery and next year, FSD next year, the regulatory thing. One of the things he said there that I noticed was he was pushing for we need to get regulation at the federal level about FSD, not at the state level. And obviously that is, what he's doing at the federal level is to do with Trump. So he's hoping that Trump will help him obviously get the regulations through for FSD, maybe lower regulations. The Department of Efficiency, or the DOGE, the federal government of efficiency, or whatever it is, that he will be leading. So that's a massive conflict of interest if he starts to decrease regulation with his companies, with his industries. Basically can fire the people that are regulating him and FSD. So he many of the people here have mentioned that lost my train of thought there. People have mentioned here that he's relying on Trump to get elected to sort of save him, and I often wonder why Trump. He talks about free speech and X, but it's got to be more than that, because Trump is openly for fossil fuels. He's mentioned before he doesn't like EVs. He doesn't like autonomous vehicles. He's mentioned that too, but he can obviously change his mind. $100 million towards a campaign. That's going to change a politician's mind on both sides. I mean, not being one side or the other here. It tends to work. Billionaires can kind of buy their help, and Elon needs a lot of help. He is the richest person in the world, though. I mean, he's not an underdog. People saying, "Oh, poor Elon," and he cries foul, but he is still the richest person in the world, and he's done that under Democratic. So I mean, a lot of company leaders play both sides, donate to both sides, but don't say a lot. And Elon has been very, very vocal this time around. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Wow. So that's all I can think of in terms of what he said. Those are the things that stood out there in what he said. The semi, there's pictures of the factory. He sort of puffed that up a bit. There were questions about how much that would actually haul. I mean, the battery pack must be massive for that thing. So does that increase what can be hauled there? He only talked about the speed. But obviously, if you go too fast, that decreases the range, and that's really important for truck drivers to, if you have to stop to charge, and that's going to be a big charge. So really, they're not going to be going fast. They're going to be going at a sort of steady speed to do the journey, because it's all about hauling goods to get it on time and to be efficient. Musk is for Trump to keep him out of jail for FSD next year. I mean, that is next year, in quality issues and tax credit. There are a lot of court cases. There are a huge number of court cases. One thing that I've seen, and I might make a video about this, is that, I haven't made any video about Elon and Trump yet. I might do that. It's tempting to do that. I don't want to get too far into politics, but one of the things that is that, there are a lot of probes, investigations, and, he's giving away $1 million. There's questions about whether that kind of thing is illegal or not. What I think he's doing, and I heard Scott Galloway say this. Is it Scott Galloway? Professor Galloway said, he was saying that, and I think he's correct here, where he said that people like Elon, who's the wealthiest people in the world, they're okay about breaking laws because... And he's got good lawyers who on tap that he can ask, and they'll run away and work it out. And it's not the question of whether something's illegal or not. It's about the consequence. So is this going to get me in jail? Not. How big's the fine? And if the positive from it that comes from it is better than the fine, like a fine means nothing to Elon. If it's $50 million or whatever, it doesn't mean anything. And so it's like he'll take the risk. So how big's the fine? That's fine. Let's just do it. And I think that's probably with that election stuff and giving away, it's probably like that. It's just like, oh, it's no big deal to me, so I'll do it anyway, and we'll deal with it later. And he just no consequences for someone like him. But some of these other things, when it comes to safety, FSD, I think these things are mounting up in the background, and he knows that. And I think he wants Trump. He's partly sucking up to Trump to hopefully he gets elected and he can help some of these things. Not maybe a pardon, but that's like an end. That would be like a end scenario, like a last ditch effort for that if you got convicted of something. But for things just not to get that far, because Trump could help with that. I mean, he can't help with everything, but the president can definitely help with a lot of things and Trump's got his own problems, of course. So that I can see why they're buddy there nowadays. Even though Tesla's done pretty well, and SpaceX has done very well with the existing government, the government contracts, the government subsidies, or the tax credits, hugely well. I think I read somewhere that Elon's companies get around $3 billion a year at this point from government contracts and subsidies and that sort of thing. So it's a lot that he already gets in that, and he's talking out against the current regime. So he's looking for more, obviously looking for more help. But as far as that call goes, I don't think there was anything really new in there. The questions about when's the affordable car coming out, the market obviously liked the talk of that, but it's just talk. And he did kind of skip that. He said everything will be autonomous. I know, like from Walter Isaacson's book, he wants a car with no pedals and no steering wheel. He would prefer to do that and get the Cybercab rolling than do it. And that really is his cheap model. He said $30,000. And he said just figures like that out of the blue, and they've been wrong when it came out. But we'll have to see what happens. He did ramble a bit, but the stock price has done well. I think the expectations are really low. The financials themselves were improved, if we can believe that. And so that's where we're at now, I think. Let me just check the comments here. Musk is for Trump to keep him out of jail. We've seen that one. Yep, that's one one possibility. Musk is courting disaster by violating the law. He could lose every government contract, or he could be boosted from all the companies so they can keep their contracts. Well, this is the thing. Like, the election does matter from that point of view. If Trump gets in, then everything can be reassessed. Like, what will Trump do? The Efficiency Commission could cut a lot of things if Elon's actually in charge of that. I mean, massive conflict of interest. There was a New York Times article about that, about showing like a graph of all of the conflicts of interest that there might be, or in the probes and the investigations from different departments, including the DOJ, the SEC, and many other aspects of government. So he obviously, it seems like he does want help there, because it would help him so much to just eliminate a lot of these things with efficiency. We'll have to see. How can Trump help him with the amount of money he borrowed to buy Twitter? He can't do that. That is definitely one area. Morgan Stanley, you'll notice that the analysts from Morgan Stanley, they've got one of the highest targets for Tesla stock, and obviously they want Tesla to do well, because that Elon's borrowed money from them for 4x, and it's obviously not going well in terms of revenue. So they want Tesla to do well, because that helps Elon with money, and I can see that there's a direct line there. Investigators will be so mad if Twitter goes bankrupt. It's not looking good. Well, we'll see. Investors will be so mad. A lot of investors will be completely shocked. I mean, I've been sort of researching and investigating different court cases and allegations. If any of them stick, then that could definitely hurt the price. And when somebody mentions fraud, a lot of the bullish Tesla investors are kind of would be absolutely shocked. And Elon keeps saying that they're against me, the government's against me, and so I think there would be this whole thing. He would start down that road of that it's all false, which is classically what if there is fraud involved, and it's only alleged fraud and nothing. He's got incredibly good lawyers, and so is he too big to fail? Is the whole thing too? If there's any kind of dodgy stuff going on, is it too big to fail? That's another question, because it's one of the biggest companies in the world, and there are a lot of people involved. A lot of people would lose money. And it could affect, depending on how, or it could affect the stock market for sure if one of the Mag 7 took a massive hit like that. Anyway, I think we'll wrap it up now. Thanks everybody for joining me. I still see quite a few people on the stream. Thanks. We're coming up to the 2-hour mark here, or more than 2 hours. So yeah, that was a long session. Elon said a lot, but he didn't say very much as usual. But the market liked what he was saying. The market liked the results. They were a bit improved, and we'll have to see if in the days ahead if that changes. I think there'll be stories about that Hardware 3, but we will have to see. Thank you. Greatly appreciate the honesty and insights. Thank you. I try to be honest. I mean, a lot of people say I'm a hater and biased, but I do like to see the actual financials. You'll see a lot of the cheerleader kind of channels just glossing over the financials completely, just looking at the good spots and not thinking it through properly. So I do like to. I have been a Tesla shareholder. I'm not a complete hater. So I'm not at the moment, and I didn't like those margins slipping. They're a bit improved, but basically the thing about it is that the multiples still are very high, and people have just got used to it. But you have high multiples for a growth company, and the growth isn't. It's only single digits in terms of deliveries, and revenue wasn't too bad, but still not what you'd expect to see for the multiples that it's trading at. And that's just my opinion and not investment advice at all. Yep, thanks everybody for watching. I'm going to sign off now and go, and it's nearly lunchtime here where I am in the world, so I'll do that, and I'll do a follow-up video, just digest all this. I might do an earnings video, I don't know, but I might talk about Trump and Elon together. There's so much news, so much information all the time. You could just do so many, but the election coming up, it's going to be the big one. Everything's kind of on hold until the election, so we'll see what happens there. If it could be really close, and if Trump goes, that there's it's been a fraudulent election, it could take months and it could be chaos. We'll have to see. Hope not. Hope it all goes fine, and we'll see how it goes. Whatever happens, I hope it's a clear win or loss on both sides. Otherwise, it could be just chaos. But we'll see. So thanks everybody, and I will see you in the next one. See you later.